How did Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, transform the large amount of Western sanctions into a large generation of wealth? How did he manage to further enrich his own fortune, the Russian state, and the Russian oligarchs? In February 2024, the conflict in Ukraine, which is still ongoing, will reach its third year of conflict. In March 2022, during the beginning of the conflict, President of Ukraine Zelensky made an appeal to the international community, mainly Western countries and large international companies, to leave Russia and make sure that the Russians will not receive anything in return. Many companies responded to his request, but Putin turned this movement away from large companies into a great business opportunity. The aim of the sanctions was to make companies stop operating in the Russian market, causing the Russian population to begin to suffer from a lack of products and thus stop supporting the government. This was Zelensky's main objective in theory, but this strategy did not have the desired effect. Putin treated this move away from Western companies as an opportunity to gain even more power. When companies decided they were going to exit the Russian economy, Vladimir Putin established several rules for exiting companies. As companies would weaken the Russian economy, the Russian government established that if companies wanted to leave the territory, they would have to sell their assets at the price that the Russian government would determine, and also who would have the right to buy the companies. Basically, the companies that made this exit were forced to sell their companies and all their infrastructure for a very cheap price. Most of the companies were purchased by the Russian government, senators, congressmen, and oligarchs, which further strengthened Putin's political power. Some countries, such as China and Kazakhstan, also had the right to buy these companies. There is an estimate that these companies lost around $100 million, and much of this money ended up being used in the conflict. This was the largest movement of wealth transfer transactions within Russia after the Soviet Union. Another big reason why the sanctions failed was the issue of China supporting the Russian government. China is the second largest economy in the world, and in addition to having a large demand for products, it can also supply many products. A very interesting fact was that international companies did not stop existing in Russia. In fact, they were just remodeled, as is the case with Starbucks, which had its brand completely adapted to continue serving the Russian consumer market. Practically all elements of the brand were preserved, thus bringing a sense of normality to the Russian population. These factors allowed Russia to survive the sanctions and even increased the power of the Russian government.